Welcome to the Fierce and Fit Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Clarice Yau, a holistic health coach dedicated to helping women over 40 achieve their fittest, fiercest selves. Each week, we'll dive deep into the unique challenges of menopause, including belly fat, weight gain, muscle building, hormonal imbalances, and more. These episodes are recorded live from my free Facebook group, Fierce Women Sculpting Powerful Bodies and Champion Mindsets. Be sure to check the link in the show notes to join our incredible community and access free content, challenges, and resources designed just for you. This topic is the real talk on digestion, what your poop reveals about bloat, energy, skin health, brain health. I can go on because almost everything is connected to your gut, okay? This is why I developed 2 programs specifically for gut, the 21 anti-inflammation system, as well as the BioRevive system, because I believe your gut is so important. I am a holistic health coach that help women above 40 reset their metabolism, balance their hormones, drop belly fat, and help you sculpt lean, fierce muscles without extreme dieting or cardio or endless cardio, okay? So right now you're going to catch me live on Instagram. As you may know, we phased out of Facebook, and I am in the process of building something brand new for all of you that we are going to announce next week. So you want to make sure you're plugging in and that you check my profile because we have something very exciting. Drop some emojis for those of you who kind of know what's coming. It's very, very exciting, and it will be a dedicated space to help you continue to learn to be your healthiest, fiercest self over 40, 50, 60s. Let's talk a little bit about today's topic, okay? So I was thinking about this because honestly, who doesn't have information anymore, right? Like, I mean, at any time we are information loaded society, you can Google poop and find a million links, okay? So why am I on here? Because you can go talk to your doctor. You can go talk to your gastroenterologist, right? But my life specifically, why I'm here is that I'm going to specifically connect this with women above 40, specifically connecting why your gut health is important for above 40, 50, 60, 70s. My oldest client is 75 now. So what is this impact on you when we talk about gut health, when we talk about looking at your stool? I'm going to help you make the connections and understand how this impacts you as a woman whose hormones is shifting rapidly in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and what this could mean for you in terms of your health, what you should look out for, what general recommendations there needs to be. And I say general recommendations because, of course, anything specific, either we need to talk individually or more medically, you consult your doctor. Okay. I'm a holistic health coach. No, I'm not a doctor, but I'm very interested in these areas and study a lot in these areas. Okay. So if you're watching and you struggle with your digestion a little bit, put digestion below. And I want to normalize this. Okay. Because a lot of people are embarrassed or afraid to talk about this. But oh my gosh, if you, again, listen to this entire live or understand your gut, everything originates from your gut, right? So we have to be willing to be like, okay, my weight gain, my belly fat, my menopausal symptoms, all of these things could be connected to how your gut is functioning, right? So again, like some of my own clients kind of jump in as well, but put below if you've had problems with your digestion before or you're concerned about your digestion, put digestion below. To normalize it, everyone has, of course, it's a human thing, experience constipation, experience diarrhea. These are actual things, right? So let's normalize it and don't be afraid to talk about it because it's important to help other people feel okay to talk about these things, right? Let's actually frame today's talk a little bit. So, obviously, you could talk about bathroom things and from a really crass way or something, but me, I'm coming from a professional standpoint, from to talk about it very classy in a way that it's like just medical, right? Just like when you see your doctor, talk about things matter of fact. Let's not be embarrassed about it. It's real health things that you need to pay attention to. So I want you to think about your poop like your daily report card. okay? It tells you what's happening in your body. Now, there is actually an assessment tool used by the medical field and was developed. It's called the Bristol Stool Chart, okay? And anybody can look this up. It's all over the internet, Bristol Stool Chart, okay? This is a clinical tool they use to divide your stool into 7 different types of stool, and it communicates about your gut motility, how well food moves through, your absorption, microbiome balance in your body. So it shows you a lot, okay? So there are pictures, if you ever look up the Bristol Stool Chart, you'll see, and you'll be like, starting to look in the toilet more. And you'll be like, wow, okay, my stool says this, my stool says this. So I'm going to break this down for you relatively quickly, but I'm going to tie it back eventually to menopause, perimenopause, and what this means for you, okay? So let's explain the 7 different types of stool. And the way I'm going to explain it is from the Stanford medicine kind of descriptions, okay? So the first type is the rabbit droppings, okay? So we're going to get visual here, okay? Yes, give me the hearts if you like this. I actually thought about pulling up the chart, but I didn't have a chance to go do a color printer. I don't have a color printer here, so it doesn't matter. So type 1 stool is like rabbit droppings, is like basically like trying to pass nuts, okay? If you've ever had this before, I mean, everybody, including myself, it's like it's so hard to pass. They're just like little chunks of things. So the hard lumps is hard to pass. Type 1 is like rabbit droppings or nuts, okay? And I'll describe type 1 and type 2 and tell you what it means, okay? Type 2 are sausage shaped, but they're lumpy. So there's a lot of lumps to it. And the way you want to visualize it is bunches of grapes, okay? So you think like a sausage, but like grapes, lots of bumps, okay? So type 1 and type 2 are both not the greatest. They both actually indicate constipation. So what is it showing when it's like bumpy, lumpy, but also like maybe chunks, like super hard? It shows you a number of things. First of all, it shows you there is very slow transit time. Very slow transit time. Food is taking a long time to move through the colon, okay? And if you have this type of poop, you may be dehydrated. So the first thing on easy fix is, are you drinking enough water, right? All my clients know, we make sure those tablets are in place, make sure that you're not dehydrated. If you have type 1, type 2 poop, basically you also might be struggling with low fiber or the wrong types of fiber, either too much soluble fiber or too much insoluble fiber. You have sort of an imbalance there, okay? But usually it's low fiber, okay? Also, type 1, 2 indicates, poor motility. So not just transit time, but it actually indicates hormones. So if you have type 1, type 2, again, lumpy like nuts, or sausage like with grape kind of bumpiness, it could indicate low estrogen and progesterone in menopause, okay? So low estrogen, progesterone, I'll explain this later, the connection between low estrogen and progesterone, what that does to your poop, okay? So it could indicate low estrogen and low progesterone, sluggish thyroid, or you're struggling with really high stress, okay? And then of course there's a medicine like side effects. If you're taking some medication, this can also affect it. Iron supplements can cause constipation, pain meds, antihistamines, those can cause constipation. So this is type 1, 2 of the type of stool, okay? They're hard to pass, it's hard, lumpy. So what does this mean for all of you over 40, 50, 60s in midlife, okay? So I'm going to give you some context. In hormones, okay, hormones, low estrogen slows down peristalsis. So your colon is not contracting as easily because you have lower estrogen. Lower progesterone means that you can't relax your digestive system as much. So again, it's harder to pass. And potentially if you have thyroid slowdown, it will also mean slower transit. Now, in midlife, you potentially will feel this, okay? And I will ask each of you in a bit what you feel. You might feel more bloating, more toxin reabsorption, estrogen dominance, and belly fat. So some things you cannot feel, estrogen dominance, I mean like more bloating, or you see there's more belly fat, or you just feel sluggish, your body's more toxic. I feel like you guys know, right? We all know if your body's not functioning at its optimal. Okay. So this is kind of what you're going to start to feel. It's like, again, heavy belly, fatigue, headaches, skin breakouts. Okay. So let me ask all of you, if you are having constipation, but you also think about, do you have a heavy belly? Like, do you feel your belly's really heavy? Do you have fatigue? Do you have headaches, constant skin breakout, even dull skin, or really hard to pass? So it's kind of all together. So like, which symptom do you feel like you experience? Heavy belly, fatigue, headaches, skin breakouts, and obviously constipation is part of this type 1, type 2 stools. Put it below if you experience any of those in relation to constipation, okay? All right, so let's actually talk a little bit of type 3, 4. We talked about type 1, 2. This is from the Bristol Stool Chart, okay? Anyone can look it up. It's all over the web. What I'm saying today for me is I'm going to connect it to you as a menopausal woman. That's the difference. You can look up stool charts anywhere, okay? So that's not why you're listening to me. You're listening to me so that I can make the connections for you as a menopausal woman. So type 3, 4 is the gold standard, okay? Actually, type 4 is better, but type 3, 4 are within good ranges. So what is type 3 stool is, we call it, they say corn on the cob. So it's like a sausage, but there's just a little bit of cracks in them. Now, is that super good? It's getting there. The better one is stool 4, which is super smooth like a sausage, smooth, no cracks in it. And I guarantee everybody's going to look at the bathroom tonight when they go. So there's stool number 3, which is like a sausage like, but like corn on the cob, there's little cracks in it. Or type 4, that's smooth like a sausage, like no cracks, like basically like a sausage, okay? So if you have type 3 or type 4, better if type 4, you are good, okay? So what does this mean? We want to get to this type of stool, because even when people say, I pass easily, but it may not have really smooth sausages. What does it mean in terms of a healthy standard? So in terms of a healthy standard, it means that you have diverse microbiome, meaning your gut is functioning well with a diverse microbiome. It means you have enough fluids and fiber in your system, both soluble and insoluble fibers. And it also indicates good bile and enzymatic activity, where food is broken down properly, where nutrition is absorbed, where you're getting the right bile to break down fats. That is good. That's what it indicates. And one more thing is it will indicate more stable hormones, okay? So this is why looking at your stool is really important, especially as menopausal women. We're struggling with a lot of hormonal changes in our body. So if you have stool 3, 4, it will indicate your estrogen, progesterone, as well as your cortisol is in better balance and is not disrupting your gut too much, okay? This is our goal, a goal to get to type 3, type 4 stool type. Okay, in midlife context, okay, when you're 40 plus, type 3, 4, this is, like I said, good. I already told you what it means, but what it will mean is that, like, more detailed, estrogen recycling is really good. I want to talk about estrogen recycling more later, but if your estrogen is not recycled well, again, your poop is going to come out looking different. And we want really good estrogen recycling, okay? And also, if you have type 3, 4 type of stool, then it means you likely have lower inflammation, and you'll likely lead to better skin, brain health overall. I'm going to talk about all the areas it's going to affect near the end of my talk here, okay? So let's talk about the next stool types, because I'm going through stool types first, and then I'm going to go into a specific hormone impact on our stools more detailed, and then I'm going to go into kind of just like how to understand your stool from other parts of it. I'm going to describe more, okay? But we're going to go through the stool types first. So there's stool number 5 to 7. If you are stool number 5 to 7, these typically become soft blobs or watery, okay? I'm going to describe each one. I hope no one is eating. If you're eating, maybe it's maybe better to come back later, okay? So I like to make a little joke here, but okay, so Type 5 poop is going to look like chicken nuggets, okay? Everybody's like, what? Chicken nuggets, they're like chunky, but they're kind of a little bit softer, and there is clear cut edges, and it'll still come out a little bit easier, but they're kind of like in chunks, okay? And whereas the type 1 one I talked about is like nuts, really hard, you can't even pass it. This one you can pass easily, but they're kind of like chicken nuggets, like I said, okay? Type 5 is sort of the beginning of diarrhea, okay? It's not complete, but it's already indicating some sort of diarrhea. Type 6 is going to be like porridge. Again, if you're eating, you can come back later. I'm sorry. So type 6 is going to be like porridge, okay? So it's going to come out fluffy, kind of like, you know what porridge is, right? The consistency is thick, but it's kind of like ragged edges and kind of coming out like that, okay? So that is type 6. And then, of course, the worst type is type 7. And we've all been there when we've been sick and things like that. It comes straight through like liquid, right? We've all had diarrhea. It comes straight through like liquid. They described it in the Stanford medicine like gravy. Okay, so it's like gravy, I hope you find this entertaining. But, so type 5, 6, 7 is indication of diarrhea, with type 7 being the most severe, okay? So type 5 to 7, what does this mean for you? So it means a number of things, okay? If you are struggling with 5, 6, 7, it could mean malabsorption. Okay, this is really important to note, okay? Malabsorption means food is moving too quickly through your system and you don't have enough time to absorb the nutrients. So a lot of nutrients might get lost. Malabsorption. So if it's like kind of that loose stool, like the chicken nuggets, like I said, or the gravy porridge type consistency, it is showing you potential malabsorption. You might be losing a lot of absorption of vitamin B, iron, protein, magnesium, a whole bunch of things, okay? So there's the malabsorption, there's a potential indication of gut irritation or infection. When I first came back into Canada, I actually had a mild food poisoning because my friend took me out to a restaurant to eat. And I instantly, after I ate, I was like, I need to throw up. And I didn't expect that. But yeah, obviously, like it was just like liquid. So typically, but it only lasted 24 hours, like a food bug. So it's typically, if it's like that, it means food sensitivity or an infection going through. And also medication can cause this. Medication like antibiotics, metformin, those of you who are diabetic, could be, or you're taking too much magnesium supplementation, which can happen, because I know as menopausal women, we know magnesium is important, but let's not overdo that, okay? And as well, stress and cortisol can cause a speed up in motility. So stress can cause things to move through faster, kind of a nervous stomach effect. So the loose stools, right? So what does it mean for you as a woman in midlife, okay? 40 and above. So nutrition depletion has effects on your body, okay? So it's really important because as a woman going through 40s, 50s, 60s, I was talking to someone yesterday on Facebook. I don't have access to Facebook, but we have a business suite. She was telling me just how like she's very tired all the time and not sure about like her nutrition absorption. So as you go into, I know what I was saying is that 50, 60. So I said there's two big dips in your menopause journey. Is 50, you're going to feel something change significantly in your body, and usually 60, you're going to feel something significantly change in your body. That was what I was saying to her. So when you have nutrition depletion, you're going to feel fatigue, brain fog. Who here feels brain fog? I've talked to many women who have struggled with brain fog, weaker hair and skin and nails. So anybody experience that? Fatigue, brain fog, weaker hair or skin or nails, okay? So that could indicate nutrition depletion. Hormonal imbalance as well for type 5, 6, 7 stools could indicate poor estrogen detox, unstable blood sugar, as well as you'll feel worse hot flashes. Anybody here struggle with hot flashes? Put it below. Hot flashes, like I said, a brain fog. If you experience any of that, put it below, because this could mean, of course, this is accompanying a lot of loose stools. In midlife, okay, so like I said, hormone imbalance will show poor estrogen detox, unstable blood sugar, worse hot flashes, and chronic diarrhea has a risk, okay? So I think if you're experiencing extreme diarrhea, most people would seek help. Like if you're type 7, like liquid coming out of you, I'm pretty sure you're gonna seek help. But when you're type 5, a lot of people don't know this. If you're type 5 and it's still coming out like loose chunks, but you're passing easily, you may think you're normal, but it's starting to maybe not be as normal, potentially. So it's important to take notice of this, right? So if you have chronic diarrhea, you're going to potentially inflame your gut lining. So there's a higher risk of leaky gut syndrome, autoimmune flare-ups, or skin issues. So if you have too much chronic diarrhea, it could indicate a problem. It could indicate something is happening there, okay? Again, this is from the Bristol Stool Chart. Anyone can look it up. You'll see a diagram of it right away, so you'll know what I'm talking about. This is loose stools, closer to the classification of diarrhea, okay? So if you have kind of looser stools, they're not big sausages and smooth and all of that, you want to ask yourself, okay, do you have fatigue, brain fog, weak hair, skin, nails, unstable blood sugar, worse hot flashes? And you can indicate maybe some of the things you feel there, like, yeah, I have really bad hot flashes, or I know some of you indicated that I have a lot of fatigue all the time, and then plus poor stool. That will tell you something is happening in your body, right? Or if you're like, my hair or my nails are constantly not healthy or whatever, this could indicate that, okay? So this is, again, you diagnosing, not like a doctor, but not everyone needs to see a doctor. If you observe your bathroom patterns, if you observe how your stool comes out and these symptoms I'm describing to you, you can tell a lot of what is actually happening in your system. So what is normal frequency for you to go to the bathroom? Because before anybody goes, oh no, there's something really wrong with myself. So in terms of the medical field, they're actually very flexible on this. They said, honestly, everybody's digestive system is different. Some people can go 3 times in a day, some 1 time a day, some once every 3 days, and they're all normal. Okay, so you're like, really? Oh, I thought something was wrong with me because I don't go to the bathroom. One of my clients said this to me. Mimi wants to watch the replay. It's like, I don't go for 2-3 days. Is something wrong with me? No, nothing's wrong with you, okay? Frequency is actually not the biggest indication. Obviously, if you don't go for 1 week, I'd be concerned. But I'm just saying, it can vary between a couple times a day to maybe once every 3 days. So what's more important than how frequent it is what I just said about the Bristol Stool Chart, is about the consistency, how easy you can pass. Is it comfortable to pass your stool? Okay, that's more important than how frequent. Okay, if you go once every 3 days, you can pass easily, no problems, you're okay, don't worry. Okay, let's talk a little bit about why a doctor would maybe order stool testing. Now, if you're enjoying this, can you please like the live, hit the heart button. If you are you want other people to watch this, because I told everybody before, once this live goes off, this link disappears. It's a completely different link, okay? So it's not even this link will be here, but you want someone to watch this live right now, send it to your friends, hit the little airplane button, send it to your friends, maybe they can jump in, maybe they can learn, it really helps continue to spread the word, okay? So I appreciate that. If you can tag someone or send it with the airplane button, maybe you can help somebody else. So stool testing typically is to check for major conditions, like maybe hidden colon cancer, potentially gut inflammation. Now that area I really prioritize in teaching my women, just because, again, gut inflammation is very prominent in menopausal women. I'm going to explain why in a bit when I talk about hormones. So whereas I'm not specialized in colon cancer, that one you have to go talk to your doctor about, but gut inflammation, yes. So they may order tests about colon cancer, about potentially wondering if you have a colon cancer, gut inflammation, or whether your pancreas is making enough enzymes and bile, okay? So this third one, there will be actual things that you're describing to your doctor that they would order tests for. If you have poor functioning pancreas or making bile, this type of thing, your stools will typically float more and they'll look a bit greasy. Okay, I don't know if any of you have seen that in your stool, or yeah, your stool is floating around a bit. Okay, it's actually better to see your stool sick, okay, versus float. Okay, so in terms of what is showing, why would they order a test in regards to floating stools? And I'm describing this to you because maybe you have it, you don't know. Like maybe you need to look in the bathroom, it's floating, it's a little bit greasy, right? So let's talk about the pancreas. The pancreas makes digestive enzymes, lipase, amylase, protease, which all help digest protein, starch, carb, fiber, different things like, and fat, okay? So you need good digestive enzymes. But your liver and your gallbladder is in charge of bile, and bile is what emulsifies fat so you can digest them, okay? So if either system is sluggish, like your liver, gallbladder, or your pancreas, fat will not be broken down properly. I actually have a client, she's not on here, she actually has a disease with this where she cannot break down fat properly, right? So when you cannot break down fat properly, you will see, like I said, shiny kind of floaties in your stool, and the stool is like light floating to the top, and there could be a very strong odor because if you cannot digest fat properly, it will go rancid, that smell, rancid oil, that type of thing. Okay, so for those of you above 40 in midlife, what this might mean, it could mean that again you will have low enzyme production. Something is not quite right with your enzyme production, maybe low stomach acid, or you're having a lot of stress. Okay, maybe as I described this, you can put it below. Yeah, I have a lot of stress. I feel like my stomach has a lot of issue, or, or low stomach acid. When this happens, it could indicate poor bile flow issue. So from the gallbladder, again, the pancreas, all the things I mentioned before, you might feel very sluggish. This type of stool type could also indicate low fat diet. Okay, so this means you may not be absorbing fats properly or vitamins related to fat. Super important. Why I talk about hormones are made from fat, right? We need to have good types of fat in our body. If you don't have enough healthy fats, you will have poor absorption of ADEK, and these could come out into your stool, okay? So if you don't have proper fat absorption, you may notice dull skin, poor brittle nails, hair, and potential hormone issues, right? So again, observing this type of stool, it's actually different from the Bristol Stool Chart, because the Bristol Stool Chart is more about like the consistency of your stool and how easy you can pass it, whereas this is talking about like, does your stool float around type of stuff, right? And the shininess of your stool. So let's actually talk a little bit about menopause and the gut. Okay, so I'm not just talking about gut like belly fat, although it's actually very connected, but I'm talking about your whole stomach, your whole gut, your whole colon, what is happening in your in menopause. Okay, how many of you feel like your gut is changing a lot, like in a matter of years? Put gut below, because you're not imagining it. Basically, that's what I'm saying. Okay, put that below. You're not imagining it. A lot is happening. Okay, so let's talk about the hormones. So when your estrogen and progesterone drop as you move into perimenopause, menopause, obviously you're 40, you're listening, you're probably like, I don't really feel any difference yet. It's okay. It's coming. That's all I'm saying, is to be aware. If you're 48, it's coming faster at 50. If you're 50 and above, you definitely have started to experience change, but you're going to experience change at a more intense rate after 60. So it's a progression, because estrogen and progesterone are continuing to drop lower and lower, which impacts multitude of other hormones. But I'm going to focus on estrogen and progesterone because this is the main thing that starts to drop in menopause, right? So when estrogen drops, what happens? Okay, so let's look at estrogen. Estrogen, that hormone, helps keep things moving. Okay, when levels start to drop, the intestine slows down and there's more likely to be constipation and bloating. So yes, as your estrogen drops off, you're more likely to move into the realms of type 1, 2, and type 5, 6 stools. 7, I feel, is extreme. That's usually if you have some like infection or wrong type of food. But the 1, 2, and 5, 6, more likely to happen because of estrogen dropping, okay? With estrogen, also affects a microbiome balance called the estrobolome, okay, estrobolome. This means that certain gut bacteria regulate how estrogen is processed, okay? So low estrogen changes this balance, meaning you're not able to process estrogen as well. So when you cannot process estrogen as well, this can lead to inflammation, more belly fat. I mentioned this as a key. Belly fat indicates things about your gut, and even mood changes. Okay, so if you feel like your mood is changing, you have belly fat or potentially more inflammation, this is coming from estrogen dropping off. Okay, estrogen helps protect the gut lining. Okay, so that's why when you are in your 20s and 30s, it is your prime, you know. I mean, teens, I mean, we all growing up, you know, great, you're a size 0, but we all know that you're not going to be a size 0 past your teens, okay? But like 20s and 30s actually is when you are at your peak, right? As estrogen is dropping, estrogen affects regularity. Estrogen protects your hormone balance with the estrobolome. Estrogen protects your gut lining. So when it drops off, this means you're more likely to experience a leakier gut. We all have heard of this, and why I'm so on my women that I coach on the type of food they eat. Because it's not about, I could eat this when I was in my 20s, 30s. When you're 50s, 60s, you have increased chance of inflammation. You have increased chance of leaky gut syndrome. What does this mean? Increased chance of leaky gut syndrome means that without the estrogen protection, more inflammation could potentially move through the gut barrier, and that inflammation will move into your bloodstream. What will you feel if this happens? It will become like joint pain or fatigue or skin issues if more inflammatory molecules move from your gut into your bloodstream. Okay, so those are the impact of lower estrogen. So you're not imagining that, right? Now, what about progesterone? Progesterone is also highly impacted as you age into the menopausal era, okay? So what is the role of progesterone? Progesterone relaxes smooth muscles. It allows your gut to pass through more easily, okay? And it like prevents cramping and stuff like that. Like, you know, progesterone relaxes you basically, okay? So when it drops, your gut becomes more sensitive and it kind of contracts a little bit more, and it creates more urgency, potentially more like IBS symptoms, irritable bowel syndrome, potentially more flare-ups with food, okay? So this potentially is a result of progesterone dropping off. Anybody feel like they have more urgency to go, or irritable bowel, or more food flare-ups, okay? So with the food flare-ups, this area I do specifically really, this is kind of part of my area, is like, that's why the type of food you eat is so important. And I always talk about inflammation or inflammatory markers, okay? Why this is super important is because you've lost the protection of estrogen and progesterone. You need to be super diligent that what you're eating is not causing higher inflammation in your system. Inflammation markers are so important to understand, because you may not know this, but there are things that are continually inflaming your system within your body. Are they inherently inflammatory, like as in like general knowledge? No, sometimes they're not, but it's how it's processed in your system that becomes a potential for inflammation. This is why I speak about learning your inflammation markers is super key, and why I developed obviously the inflammation program. So if you're listening and you're like, you know what, I feel like I have a lot of problems with food I eat. I feel like, just having more belly fat, my system's not working well, put inflammation below if you want to learn more about this, okay? Put inflammation below, because I can't stress it enough. It is something I said in my inflammation course, that majority of chronic diseases and aging diseases are connected to inflammation. Anything with an itis on the back of it means inflammation. If you have arthritis, if you have gastritis, if you want to learn more about inflammation, put inflammation below. It is so important. I can't emphasize it enough. Okay, so what does progesterone also do? Progesterone helps buffer stress, okay? It actually helps you balance out stress, and it prevents cortisol dominance, okay? So when progesterone drops, what does that mean? You connect the dots of what I just said. It means cortisol. So it's like, what? Okay, wait. Estrogen drops, progesterone drops, cortisol. You see the chart? What are indications of high cortisol? Everyone look at your belly. Do you struggle with belly fat? Do you struggle with a protruding belly? So in terms of sleep and repair, progesterone promotes deeper sleep, okay? So in your deep sleep, this is where your gut repairs itself. So when you have less progesterone, you're less likely to have good sleep. Why a lot of women in menopause don't sleep well or wake up frequently. It's actually partially due to progesterone, okay? Progesterone is not high, it's low, so you're not sleeping well. So if you're not sleeping well, then you could potentially have slower healing, more irritation, all of that. So you're not imagining that, okay? So if your sleep is not great and your gut is not doing well, there is a connection. So let's summarize this. Estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen is your gut's mover and protector. When estrogen drops, then you're losing a lot of the mover and protector. So this is why you have to help it by making sure the type of food you eat is healthy, is not inflammatory, and has, what I believe proper macro balances. Okay, so that when you lose estrogen, you're losing the gut protector and the gut mover. And then progesterone is the gut's calmer. Okay, so it calms your system down. When it falls, then you're more likely to be sensitive or anxious or reactive in your gut. Your gut doesn't function well, okay? So what does this mean? You're struggling a lot with constipation, type 1, 2, or type 5, 6, 7, then you need to really look at, well, what are you eating, and is your nutrition on par? Is there a lot of irregularity? Is there a lot of bloating? Is there a lot of belly fat in your system? Okay, so this is your indication. You want your stool to get to a healthy type 3, 4, 4 being better. Okay, awesome. So let's talk a little bit about, okay, yes, hit the heart button. Like I said, tag someone, tell someone about it, please. All right, so let's actually talk about what else to focus on, okay? So it's not just about the Bristol Stool Chart. That one's very crucial, of course, but it is also looking at some other things, okay? So also looking at color cues is important, okay? So colors of your stool, okay? I know we're getting graphic, but this is important, okay? So what is the best color? You guys know this answer. We know this growing up, right? Our mom and dad told us. The best color is brown, for sure. We know this, okay? Brown is the best color. It means healthy biopigments that makes your poop brown, okay? Now, if your poop is a different color, it's not always a medical emergency, okay? It could be related to what you just ate, but I'm going to explain. If it's slightly green, it means potentially you have a super fast transit of your food through your bowel system. It's sometimes too fast, like I said. So it could be green, meaning nutrients were not absorbed properly, etc., okay? But if you suddenly ate a lot of green leafy vegetables, like a lot, it's okay if it's once in a while green. It's just if it's not permanently always green, okay? But if it's permanently starting to look greenish, tinge or something, like you've observed this after a while, maybe it's meaning too fast on the transit, okay? So if it's yellow, okay, or greasy, as I mentioned above, okay, yellow or greasy usually means fat malabsorption. If you see yellowish tinge in the water, it will mean maybe fat malabsorption from pancreas or bile. If your stool is black or tarry, okay, again, it's not always super serious, but it could be very serious, okay? If you're taking iron supplements, of course, sometimes that turns your stool black. Or if you ate a lot of blackberries or something like that, like intensely, you had a day where you just loved blackberries, it could turn your stool black. Don't worry if it's a one-off, like I said. But if you continually see a really dark stool that's not brown, but like close to black, it could mean possible GI bleeding. So like in that case, it's serious. You need to go see a doctor, okay? And then the other color is red, okay? Red, again, it can be very dangerous. I mean, again, okay, like even me, I love beets, okay? So sometimes when I eat lots more beet, I do notice, okay? So it's not life and death, okay? If you just ate beets or something that's really red, that's fine, okay? It's like a one-off. But if it's consistently you have red in there, this is quite serious. So there's two things. One, if you notice bright red or fresh blood, everyone will know there's something wrong, but bright red, fresh blood typically could indicate hemorrhoid. Okay, hemorrhoids are swollen veins kind of around the rectal area, kind of like varicose veins. Usually this happens when you are maybe straining during bowel movements. So those of you who struggle with constipation, this could cause hemorrhoids. Sometimes pregnancy or menopausal hormone changes makes that area like weaker blood vessels. So this could also indicate that. You may not eat enough fiber, or there might be dehydration. This can also cause that. Or if you sit a lot, okay, this can also cause hemorrhoids, right? Typically, if it's bright red and it's not in like directly in the stool, but it's like on your Kleenex or something, that could be more indication of a hemorrhoid. So I know it's more common than people think. It's not to be embarrassed. If you see this, you do need to get that checked out. If it is dark red, okay, dark or yeah, like kind of like, almost like dried blood, like a darker red in the stool, then this is more likely the GI is bleeding. Something is bleeding within there. And of course you need to see a doctor. This is serious, right? You need to do that. Okay. Now, other cues on your stool is odor cues, right? I was reading this, it's like, no stool smells good. Of course, it's not meant to smell like flowers. We know this, okay? So, but if it has this unusual smell, there's certain things it can indicate. So first of all, if it has a strong foul odor, like very strong, it could indicate malabsorption, infections, or imbalance in your microbiome. If it has a sweet kind of like rotten smell, it could indicate like a Clostridium difficile. They just call it CD, I believe. What this is an overgrowth of a certain type of bacteria, like the one I just said. And so this type of bacteria, it really can become overgrowth, okay? And this type of bacteria, Clostridium difficile, it actually releases a lot of toxins in your system, okay? It inflames the colon and can cause a lot of irritation. And usually your stool would be very strong, very foul, kind of that rotten odor, okay? So this can lead to dehydration, nutrient loss, severe cases, maybe colitis, okay? So of course, if you don't have any of that, don't worry, but it's just for anybody who's listening who may not have, they may have very foul smelling stools, but not know what it means, right? So where does this happen? Typically, with CD kind of infection, or like kind of like a overgrowth of bacteria, often it's if you use a lot of antibiotics. If you've been sick recently, or you've taken a lot of antibiotics, or you have a weakened immune system, and if you're over 60, you're more likely to experience this type of overgrowth of the CD bacteria, okay? So you should get that potentially checked out. So the third type of odor is sulfur smell, okay? So if you have a lot of sulfur smelling, This will tell you you are eating a lot of processed meats. Yes, those who are with me know my take on this. There is a lot of things in those processed meats I am not a fan of, right? So if you have a sulfur smelling, it could be a lot of processed meat, maybe too much egg or poor gut microflora. And that's why I forget who asked. Taking probiotics, prebiotics can definitely help, right? Like I said, when do you need to see a doctor? Honestly, like most people are not on the extreme spectrum, but in your life, it's important to detect things earlier than later, right? We talked about colonoscopy. We talked about observing your stools or your bathroom patterns is super important. When do you actually go see a doctor is when you have blood in your stool, like I said, persistent type 6-7 diarrhea. If you have like pencil thin stools, like they're not bulking properly, you have unexplained weight loss, fever, or severe pain, like pain in your gut. Okay, those are obviously serious and you need to go see your doctor, right? So most people are not there, but it's good to know, okay? Now, I'm going to now dive into more specific to menopause women, how your gut health connects to the rest of your system. Okay, I'm going to talk about the connection to your metabolism, to your belly fat, to your hormone detox pathways, to your immune and inflammation system, to your brain health and your mood, to your skin health and your gut health. Which one do you struggle with the most? Metabolism, belly fat, hormones or hormone detoxification, maybe inflammation, or you feel like brain health or brain fog, or you have poor mood all the time. Put it below. Identify for yourself, what are you struggling with? Or skin health, like poor skin, eczema, psoriasis, what are you struggling with? Or poor gut health. Put below, what are you experiencing that you feel like, yeah, okay, she's gonna make some connections for me. What are you struggling with? So let's dive into that. Okay, so with metabolism and belly fat. So with menopausal women, the truth is you're going to have probably already slower transit time. Okay, means it takes longer for food to move through. So what does this mean? It means potential estrogen reabsorption and altered thyroid conversion. It's called a metabolic drag. How many of you feel like metabolism is dragging? Put metabolic drag, okay? This is because of the slower transit, okay? Metabolic drag. So that's one. Now another opposite end of the spectrum, okay, is fast transit. Like I said, too fast. No. If it's too fast, too loose, what did I say earlier? It will have nutrient losses. You're going to lose protein, B vitamins, important vitamins for your body. And if you have problems building muscle, this is something to keep in mind. If you have too fast movement through the GI tract, you're not going to be able to build muscle. You're losing it fast. You're losing your vitamin Bs fast. You're losing your protein fast. This is why it's important to identify what kind of stool you have. If you have 5, 6, 7, well, 7, like I said, if you are there, you know something's really wrong. But usually it's 5 or 5, 6, sometimes you're not sure. You need to be cautious, especially if you're like, I'm having a lot of trouble building muscle. Why am I not building muscle properly, right? Yes, so fast transit, and then as well, this is related to metabolism and belly fat, is in midlife, you're more likely to experience like IBS, like inflammatory bowel syndromes, GI symptoms. So what is irritable bowel syndrome? Basically, this is a functional gut disorder, okay? This functional gut disorder means that under like scans, your gut looks normal. Okay, so this is why it gets frustrating for people. They're like, I went to the doctor, they did the scan, they said my gut is normal, but I don't feel normal. Okay, when you don't feel normal, it means that like your gut isn't functioning normally. There's something happening, and you might be experiencing bloating, abdominal pain, cramping, diarrhea, constipation, those types of things. Okay. And what it is that there's actually a gut-brain axis that happens. There's a communication that's not communicating really well between the brain and the gut and your microbiomes, okay? So it is actually affected, like your gut and your brain, okay? So you're not imagining the gut not feeling well, okay? So again, remember that estrogen declines, poor gut motility, progesterone declines, less relaxation of your gut, so you cannot pass as easily, potentially irregularity, and stress and cortisol goes up, as I said earlier. So the brain sends danger signals throughout your body with cortisol. This leads to IBS flares, right? Urgency, diarrhea. And so again, like I said, like it affects the way your brain thinks. So there's an axis on this. And the microbiome shift is very real. So you have less bacterial diversity in menopause. So you're more likely to have gas, irregular stools, mood changes. Again, eating multitude of different kinds of food. I said it in one of my lives, the gold standard, although it's hard to achieve, is 30 different vegetables per week, if you can accomplish that. But having probiotics or a good probiotic is very crucial. And like I said, you can go find your own. If you want me to recommend you one, you can put probiotic below. Those of you who have been with me a long time, did my Bowel Revive, Jennifer, you're in my Bowel Revive. You guys know that there's a specific probiotic that I like that has to have certain things to it, right? You want to have a lot of diversity, a lot of colonies. You want it to have the ability to travel through your stomach and get to your colon alive. So there's a lot of specifics you want to know about probiotics, right? So I talked about hormone detoxification. Hormone detoxification is about that estrogen I talked about, like about those enzymes that digest your estrogen well. It relates to beta glucuronidase, which influences metabolism of estrogen and clearance of estrogen, okay? When you don't clear your estrogen properly, so tell me if you experience this, okay? Because I think a lot of women who don't eat well, who have a large belly, who have a lot of weight, like to lose, in their body, this could indicate poor estrogen recycling, okay? Poor estrogen recycling, you will see potentially more distribution of fat, like in your belly, yes, but also in your hips, in your belly and your hips. That could indicate breast tenderness, heavier periods if you're still cycling, or mood swings and fatigue could indicate poor estrogen recycling, okay? And if you have poor estrogen recycling, this is kind of the part of the, like how the digestion affects this, okay? If you have constipation, the stool is sitting too long in your gut system, and so the estrogen gets reabsorbed into your system, which is not good, right? Like I talked about. So constipation is not good. Poor gut bacteria will mean maybe certain gut bacteria is not digesting it well, so it gets recycled back into your system. So what can help you cycle estrogen better? Okay, so you want to make sure you have regular bowel movements. Like I said, it doesn't mean daily, but regular. So if you've always taken 3 days to go and it's regular and you can pass easily, that is fine. But if you used to go every day, but you're taking 3 days to go, then it's maybe not so fine, right? It's based on what we call, the doctors call it your baseline, okay? So the baseline, so you have to have regular bowel movements. You want to ensure that you have lots of fiber and good hydration to ensure this, okay? You want to make sure you have good balance of gut bacteria. The more diverse, the better. Okay, the more diverse of your gut bacteria, the better. And liver support, okay? Liver support, not eating so much processed food, alcohol, types of oils that I talk a lot about. Liver support, and obviously in Bio Revive system, you guys know I talk a lot about liver support in my Bio Revive system, okay? So the Bio Revive system is, will help with liver support, okay? So that is what you want to ensure to have better estrogen recycling. This is an area where it really is not so much applied for probably men, right? It's not so much about them. It's about us as women. In our estrogen, are you properly recycling, or are you properly digesting the estrogen and getting rid of it out of your system? We don't want too much estrogen recycled in your system. Okay, so if you want to learn more about how to protect your gut and have better gut health, I want you to put gut health below, because this area is so large. As you can see, the time is extremely long, and I only have a little bit of time left to continue to talk about some of these things. So if you want to learn more about gut health, put gut health below. Let's actually talk about the next area. So this first area was belly fat and metabolism. The next thing is inflammation in your system and your immune system. Okay, so all of you know 70 to 80% of your immune cells are in the gut. Okay, so if you have dysbiosis, which is imbalance of your bacteria, or permeability, meaning your gut is allowing things through, you're going to have a lot of immunity issues and high levels of inflammation in your system, right? So the high levels of inflammation system will look like this. Okay, tell me if you experience this. Joint issues, poor energy, skin flare-ups, and like I said, belly fat. Pretty much belly fat tells you a lot of things. What do you experience? Joint issues, poor energy, skin flare-ups, and belly fat. What do you experience? Because that can tell you, are you inflamed or not? Okay. The next thing is brain and mood. Okay. So brain and mood, there's a type of cell called EC cells. These EC cells produce 90% of serotonin in your gut. 70% of immune system is in your gut. 90% of serotonin is in and produced in your gut. So guess what? How you feel throughout the day, how good your mood is actually highly impacted from your gut. So there is a really close connection to people who struggle a lot with mood swings and depression. This is actually really in a lot of studies. Depression is highly linked. Of course, it's not the only thing, but highly linked to your gut system. If you have a poor gut system, like I said, the EC cells are not working. You're not going to produce as much serotonin. You could often feel really off, really down. Energy is really low, depressive. This is not imagined. It's not just your mind. Sometimes there's a real physical cause, and that often originates from your gut. Put below, because these are the things you want to identify for yourself, right? Like, you're not just like imagining it, and you're not just getting older, right? That's like a blanket statement. When you can actually understand, oh, this is what's happening. I have inflammation in my gut. Oh, this is what's happening. I'm always sad or depressed. Maybe we can start looking at your gut health. Okay. Now the skin, okay, you guys know there's this gut skin axis. Okay. So if you have altered gut, and immune signaling, like there's inflammatory molecules and poor bacterial balance, you could potentially have acne, rosacea, eczema, psoriasis. If you have any of those could be potentially related to poor gut health. Okay. And of course, like I said earlier, that the gut permeability is how much your gut is allowing things through the gut. As you age, this will become slightly more and more permeable. So that means you have to be more and more diligent with how you eat, with avoiding inflammatory markers, and really ensuring good macro balances in your meal. Okay. All right. So mini self check-in for you before we kind of wrap up here. Okay. Ask yourself, okay, are you type 1-2 stools most of the time? Type 1-2 stools are more constipation, harder to pass, more like lumps, or really hard to pass, like the nuts, or like the, like I said, like grapes, kind of like they're long, but grapey, kind of like lumpy. If you're type 1-2 most of the days, you might have constipation, and it will lead to more bloating. Anybody struggle with bloating? And more cravings. Anybody struggle with cravings? Cravings, bloating, and constipation are connected. Okay. So anybody type 1-2 most of the time. This is for you to self-assess. You could put it below type 1-2, or you could say, I have a lot of bloat. I have, cravings or harder workouts, meaning like you find energy's hard. You can't work out really well. Okay. Type 1-2. So there's that. And then 3, 4 is healthy. We want the gold standard. And then if you're type 5, 7, like I said, type 5, 7 is like loose stools, right? Like I said, chicken nuggets, they're little pieces, they're softer, they're little pieces, or that they're more like porridge coming through, or it's like liquid, right? So 5 to 7, do you have this most of the time? Do you find you cannot get the nice long sausages, right? If you have type 5 to 7, you might find you'll have more urgency to go to the bathroom, fatigue after meals, skin flare-ups, right? So again, it's noting for you, maybe are you more type 5 to 7, right? Again, self-assessment time. Are you more type 5 to 7 stools? And so we need to be aware of this, because what that means, right? Like I said, it could be malabsorption. You're not absorbing nutrients well. It can lead to poor muscle building because you're not absorbing protein well. There's a lot of things it's telling you. And you can put it below. Maybe you're type 1, 2. Maybe you're type 5, 7. Maybe you're type 3, 4. And you're like, yes, Clarice, I am on track. Okay. And then, of course, if it is something out of the norm, don't worry. If it's a one-off, not to worry. We all have things. One off. It could be you traveling, going to a new place, stress all of a sudden. It's not the one off that you want to be concerned about. What you want to be concerned about is the patterns, the continuation of, hey, most of the time I'm finding it really hard to go to the bathroom, Clarice. Hey, Clarice, I find I'm having a lot of loose stools. Like, what does this mean for me? Do you have a hysterectomy? Do you not? Are you menopause? Are you postmenopause? Are you like, I need to know a lot of things before really figuring out what's going on with you, right? So if you want, like I said, if you want to have a structured system of understanding how to help yourself have better gut health, lower inflammation, understand how to have more hormone specific coaching, then put the word ready below. Okay, ready below, meaning you really want to take action to change some things in your body. Okay, because I will tell you, actually, most people don't have normal stools. Like, a lot of people struggle with stool problems, but because it is a sensitive topic, a taboo topic, people don't talk about it. They go and take a laxative, or they go and try to eat more fiber, but they're not really addressing what is going on. Right? So I'm just trying to encourage you as a professional. I am not a doctor, but I am a health coach and a holistic health coach that specializes with women above 40, meaning most of the clients I coach actually are 50s, 60s. It's crazy. 7 and 2 of them are in their 70s, which is crazy too. So is that I have seen the patterns of what happens to women in this age. I have seen lots of digestive issues. I've seen that most of my clients come to me do not eat enough fiber. I have seen that most of the people who start with me have high inflammation in their system. So don't feel bad. Don't feel like, oh my gosh, something's wrong with me. It's not. It's just that there's a lot of things happening in your body. Hormones are changing, and you need to learn how to balance everything together, right? So hopefully you found that helpful. It's very detailed, and love it, like it, share it with your friends, and tell more people about this profile. If you want to listen to maybe more specific podcasts, I have a podcast station called The Fierce and Fit Mentor. It is available on YouTube. It's on Spotify, everywhere, I guess. Apple Podcasts, as well as Amazon Music, YouTube Music. I don't know. It's everywhere. So it's called The Fierce and Fit Mentor Podcast. And you will be able to find a lot more on my teachings on there. Awesome. If you enjoyed this, drop the love button and tell your friends about it. Okay? Awesome. See everyone later.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fierce and Fit Mentor podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit the follow button on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, or wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. If something in this episode resonated with you, please leave a review or share it with a friend who'd love it too. Your support means the world and helps us reach more amazing women like you. Until next time, stay fierce, stay fit, and let's keep building your most powerful self.